Just want to ask you about the closeout opportunity. You guys did it in Nashville, and this is a little bit different because you're going to be on the road. Just is there anything different you can say to the guys? Like, what kind of mindset are you looking for from them with the chance to close out here in 6?
Yeah, there's different approaches. As a coach, you always think, you're thinking of different ways. For me, team meeting tonight. Do you have a team meal? Do you do this? There's a lot of different things, but I think the message is it's going to be really hard, and that's all you should be thinking about. And whatever it takes to get it done, you do. You got to get back, and I've said it a bunch of times. You got to get back to earth. We really got to get back to earth. It's going to be our toughest game. That's the way you got to approach it.
9 straight 1-goal games.
Yeah.
Your team seems pretty comfortable in that environment. Why?
I honestly think this year is we've had a lot of taste of it where we knew if we're going to go far or be successful, we'd have to be comfortable. One of our weakness, one of the things that we talked about as a group early last year and then this year is if we're up or down, you can't, I keep saying push our chips. It's true. You can't just always go for it. You're up 2-0, you got to manage the puck. If you're down 2-0 with 30 minutes, you still got to be comfortable. And I think that's helped us. And it's a lot of buy-in from the leadership group, knowing that. It's not about them, it's about the team. It's not about, hey, I don't have a point. We're up 2-0 or whatever. It's about how do we lock this game down. That's what I think.
Or just the way yesterday went with PDG getting the goal after being away from the team, guys like Pettersson stepping up and having games, and you talking about some guys taking steps in the right direction. How good is that for morale going into a big game like Game 6?
Well, I think after the game when they gave Deej the puck, he was pretty emotional. It was a great, it's just great. That's what we talked about. Anybody can be a hero, at any time, even a guy that doesn't play that gets back in the lineup. That's what playoff hockey's all about. So hopefully that inspires guys.
Just to the penalty kill again last night.
Yeah.
5 for 5. Just the way the game went, felt like everything was clicking for you guys, but the penalty kill was excellent. Especially, that's the first game the Oilers haven't had a power play goal in that game. What do you take away from that unit and what they did well yesterday?
First of all, that's hard to do. I mean, that is one of the best power plays I've seen since I've been a coach. They do a lot of different looks, so I give our guys a lot of credit. I think there was some pressure points that we were a little more aggressive. Saying that, they're going to probably adjust on a few things, so we got to be ready for them. So it's going to be hard to do. I mean, it's hard to shut that PK or that power play down, but that was one of the reasons why we won.
The energy demands, you're playing every other night, the intensity of the hockey, both teams are affected by that.
Yeah.
How much of your emotional position is an advantage for you guys right now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know. Because it's really hard. You can't trick your brain. It's like, let your foot off the gas, or we have 2 chances to get this done. You can't think that way. You have to be mentally like a rock, and you got to just know that first period is, worry about that first period. And I think you rely on your teammates, today, to make sure that you can keep that mentality of, this is our biggest game of the year right here. That's the way you got to approach it.
When another day passes, or Thatcher Demko, how much closer is he closer? Could you see him, playing this weekend? Could you see him playing next week?
I mean, that would be a stretch. I mean, I'm not trying to hide anything, but he has been, taking shots and doing a lot of good things.
Rick, what do you expect from Connor McDavid on Saturday night?
Like every game, he's dangerous. He's just an unreal player, and when you play unreal players, you got to make sure you're ready to play them. But we can't go in, and I thought we did like Game 5 where we played a little bit too, off them too much. And I'm not saying our job is to go. We wanted. Obviously, we don't want to take penalties against them, but you want to play aggressive. That's a hard thing to do. So you expect that Edmonton's going to play their best, and their individuals are going to play their best. That's the way I expect it.
Rick, there's been a lot made about the new faces on the defense core this year, but one guy who's been here for a while now is Tyler Myers. How much impact do you think he's had in these playoffs, and especially in the room and off the ice for the guys?
Yeah, for me with Mizey, he just kind of embolizes for me we've done this year where, Mizey's come from, he's just been, I think he's been one of our best players in the playoffs. I mean, to go in there and shut down O'Reilly's line, or not so much shut him down, but play against them, then play against McDavid. The way he's played for us, I think he's just one of those guys, how he's improved. And he's one of the guys that buys in what we're selling here. He's probably the first guy that, since I've been here, he's the guy that's buying it. Never had a problem. Low maintenance guy. And he preaches, when I know, put it this way, when I leave the dressing room, that 2 minutes, he's saying the right things. And he's saying the stuff that we're saying, which is nice to have.
I know coaches don't always put a lot into like the way they count them and things like that, but you guys have been on the right side of that ledger for a while. Is now game 5 and 6 and 7, like, are you seeing signs of it maybe paying off in terms of their energy levels?
Yeah, I mean, for us, that's the way we got to play in the sense. First of all, you can't run around, but we have a conscious effort to make sure we finish, but finish on the right side of the puck. I mean, there's a technique to it. I know guys want to blast guys sometimes, but sometimes you got to be careful of that. I think we've been hitting intelligently, but there's also times, I mean, they've had a lot of puck possession, and we've kept them the outside, and sometimes you can't hit when you have a team that's really good cycling the puck. So that's why you got to play off them. I think you just got to find that balance, and I think we've done a pretty good job when it comes to that.
Forecheck, you talked about getting more of that in last game, and it looked like you did. Yeah. Were there moments there, though, where it was close to them? Like, there were some odd man rushes as well as a result of that. Where are you on how your team managed that line last night?
You're right. There was about 3 or 4 times we lost our F3. And I honestly think the exuberance of we were playing well, and then, the crowd's going crazy, and then you just see F3, the high forward for us. He gets excited, and then he starts to dive in because he sees something, and then what happens? They get the odd man. We can't have that in Edmonton because they're probably one of the best. Well, they are one of the best rush teams in the league.
Sorry, just one more. Philip Hronek last night. Where would you rank that game amongst his performance in the playoffs? And was there anything different that you saw last night? From our perspective, it looked like it was maybe his best game so far.
I thought he skated really well. I thought his gaps were really good. He was in people's faces. I thought he defended well. That's, for me, is when Phil skates and he gaps up, you can see the difference. And I think he was more assertive on his whether it's confrontation with a player. Like, he was on the right side. He wasn't missing last night. I agree. He had a really good game for us.
Rick, in the ballpark of kind of believing and buying in and understanding what the playoffs are all about, what do you think this group's learned the most since going on this run 2 rounds in?
Well, I think for me, it's been a resilient group. I've said that before, but they're really good at blocking out the noise. And to be a successful team, you got to block it out. You can't let the demons come in, or what about this or what about that, or what happens if this happens. You can't think that way. And I give them a lot of credit. They've been rock solid. It's been a cocoon in that dressing room. They've made it really, I like to call it a safe environment. Guys can be vulnerable in there and not worried about it, and trust the room. I think that's really helped.
JT against Connor throughout the series, he's played 47, 48 minutes, somewhere in there, and hasn't given up. Or Connor hasn't been on the ice for a goal going head-to-head with JT. Do you sense any frustration there on the other side? Like, do you think he's kind of figured something out there?
Not a frustration from their side. I don't see it. I just like Connor McDavid's demeanor. Like, even after games, he's a very confident kid. You can tell. So I don't know if I see that, any frustration. All I know is that, we got to play a certain way against him, and but I don't see him wavering one way or the other. I really don't.
With the breakouts, I know you were asked about it last night. It felt like in earlier games, you guys were trying to go up the wall a lot, and they were in right positions to keep pucks in the zone. But last game, you were able to make those 5, 10-foot passes to the inside to transition. How much of that was just an adjustment or something you've been preaching all along? Well,
it's been preaching all along. It's the one thing I was telling you guys during this, there are plays there to be made, and you're right. We were throwing them up the walls. We were flipping pucks, and I thought we had a lot more composure. And the plays we talked about and the stuff we pre-scouted were there. So I thought it was more composure than anything else.
Rick, I believe at times this year, when you have been critical of your team with us, you often then give them space. And I remember the first road trip of the year,
Yeah.
Philadelphia, you gave them space in Tampa, you had a meeting. I'm wondering what happened, because it's the playoffs, what happened between 4 and 5? Did you talk to them the day after you said what you said post-game of 4 about the same message, or did you give them space?
The way I work is like, obviously, and listen, I'm not, critical to me is, hey, you didn't play well, you got to get going. I don't think that's critical. I think they understand who I am. But the next day, I'm very conscious of it. Yes, I am. And even on a game day, less is more for me. You don't need Rick Tocchet to be talking all the time. So I didn't talk a lot, and I did more individual talking. Let the team stuff go with the footy or Yosi or somebody like that. I think that's the way to approach it. You don't need me 24/7. I wouldn't want myself 24/7 either. So.
Did you feel like you needed to build some guys up, or are we past that point of trying to build guys up?
Well, I think you always got to build some guys up, like honesty, and I think presentation to me with a player is huge, and whatever approach it is, or and each player is different, but it's not a build up. I think it's just it's more of sometimes it's going to be more on the positive side for sure. I think the staff did a good job in between games, and it's going to be a whole different. It's like next game's the same. It's a different game.
And lastly, you said you got to be brave in your job, right? You got to be willing to swing the bat. Were you swinging the bat post game 4, and then with the changes you made to the lineup, did those feel like big swings to you?
Well, I just think as a coach, and I learned this from Tampa when I coached there, is you're always going to be questioned, and if you think that way, you're just going to second guess yourself. And I got my information, what I thought. I listened to the great staff I have, and then at the end of the day, I'm doing it. And I maybe 10 years, or I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I'm probably going to listen to somebody else that I shouldn't listen to, or listen to the outside noise. And I haven't been doing that. Sometimes you're successful, and sometimes you're not. And you can't. And if you're not, you're on the wrong side of the decision. Don't be afraid to make the next decision. Just don't. You just got to be very decisive on your call. And I think players see that too. If you're kind of wishy-washy, I think the players see that. Well, I learned it. It's hard. Yeah, but it's a hard thing. Yeah, because why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And the one thing I think I told you the one time we were in Pittsburgh when Mike Sullivan I think I told you Mike Sullivan was either Fleury or Murray, and Fleury played unreal for us. But he was a little bit tired, but he deserved to play. But he went with Murray, and I remember, man, that guy's got balls, like to make that call, and he was on the right side. But I'm sure there was articles that he might have got fired if I know what I'm saying. So I think you got to give the coaches like Sully a lot of credit for making those calls, and that's what swinging the bat is, I guess.
Canucks in 6. Shout out to my boy Rick Tocchet. You shall not pass!
Go Canucks, go.
Let's keep this thing going, baby.
Generational talent.
Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.